On this episode of the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino, Trevor Knight joins us for an interview. We talk to Trevor about his playing career. He gives his thoughts on OU going to the SEC, and he lets us know what he expects from the Sooners this season. And that's it. Please download and subscribe to the podcast, rate it 5 stars, and write us a good review. Follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Just search Oklahoma Breakdown on any of those, and you'll find us. All right. Our man Michael Hosty will kick this thing off. It's time for the Oklahoma Breakdown. It's a beautiful Thursday, August 12th, and you're listening to the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino. Riverwind is Oklahoma City's premier casino experience, and your health and safety are Riverwind's #1 priorities. There are so many reasons why Riverwind is consistently voted OKC's #1 casino, but it all starts with their amazing variety of gaming thrills and excitement. Riverwind's beautiful award-winning environment plays host to more than 2,800 of the latest electronic games with a huge selection of table games, including blackjack, blackjack match, roulette, and Teddy's favorite, craps. No matter what your game, Riverwind has it in spades and hearts. And every night from 6 p.m. to midnight, August 1st through 27th, you can win your share of $300,000 in cash prizes and bonus play in Riverwind's $300,000 Riverwind Winiversary. That is a lot of money. If you need help finding your way, just visit riverwind.com. Riverwind Casino, simply the one. Now, Ted, we are recording this way in advance. We are both still on vacation. How do you think it's going for us in the future, man?
For me, probably horribly. It's a road trip. You know how our kids are on the road. Are we there yet? I'm probably got like noise canceling headphones on driving right now.
How do you think the 8-hour and 45-minute flight went for me with a 6-week-old baby?
Oh my God. I don't know. I don't know, man. That's tough.
Dude, you're supposed to tell me it's going to be fine. What do you mean you don't know?
I think I think my son was always okay flying. I don't think, but we didn't take him when he was that young. We took him whenever he's old enough to put an iPad in his hands and let him, tap on the screen and play some games. I don't know. It's gonna be really bad whenever you're coming down to land, dude. The ears popping, kid's not gonna know what's going on. That's gonna be bad. But the rest of the time may not be bad.
Does it make it any better that the flight home is supposed to be an hour longer? Same flight, but because of wind or whatever going
Yeah,
west, it takes longer for whatever reason. It's what is it, the trade winds or whatever? I don't know, but
I don't know. I don't think once you get above like 5 hours, I think it's all the exact same. It's all just really bad.
I can't wait to recap this vacation
I
on the
think
next
you're going to
pod.
thrive in that type of environment, though. That's right up your alley. You're going to be walking up and down the aisle, bouncing the baby, trying to get a little bit of a comfort zone going there, burping. You'll handle that. You'll thrive.
Embrace the chaos.
That's
Life
right.
motto. Let's go.
That's right.
Okay, if you are interested in sponsoring the podcast during football season, please email us at theoklahomabreakdown@gmail.com or reach out to Teddy or me on Twitter. Please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and leave a nice comment while you're at it. Those make us feel good. There's been some really complimentary ones coming in lately, and man, these people like what we're doing. So it makes us feel
Thanks,
good
guys. That
knowing
feels
that
good.
you guys enjoy it. So if you have time, comment, 5-star review. That would be great. But Ted, we've got Trevor Knight on this episode. And I did not anticipate the interview lasting an hour, but that's exactly what happened.
I He had some good stuff to say, man. It's Trevor Knight, the whole story, like the emotions behind everything. The dude had a hell of a roller coaster ride as a college quarterback, man. He really did. Played early. Heisman Trophy winner came in afterwards. Transferred, played in 2 different conferences. I mean, It's some crazy stuff. Got propositioned by a mega star on game day. I mean, it's nuts.
We get into all of it, and we're not going to keep you waiting any longer. But first, let's talk money. First Fidelity Bank is a full-service financial institution based in Oklahoma, tailored solutions for all your personal and business needs. Checking accounts, saving accounts, home loans, and much more. They do it all. Whether it's online banking from your computer or mobile banking from your phone, everything is stress-free with FFB. Making mobile deposits, paying bills online, and moving money to different accounts could not be easier. First Fidelity Bank also provides free ATMs worldwide, making banking convenient wherever you are. They also give back to the community. FFB donates a total of more than $500,000 to local charities and educational foundations. Make your life easier and go bank at First Fidelity Bank. Visit ffb.com for more information. All right, here is a deep dive with our man, Trevor Knight. It is our pleasure to be joined by an OU football legend. Yes, legend, I say. Trevor Knight is in the house. What is going on, man?
Not much, man. Glad to be on. I feel like this is a long time coming. I watch you guys and listen to you guys, and you've always got great thoughts. And I keep my mouth shut. And finally, this week, it all bursted open, and here we are.
We will get to the Quinn Ewers stuff. We'll get there. That's toward the end of the interview. We got to dive into you a little bit more. I do want to start here. I want to start with the OU stuff because we have so many OU fans that listen, and some of the stuff that OU fans have said about your career over the years, like, it bothers me, and I'm sure it bothers you. And all these people commenting on what your career was at OU, what it wasn't. Now that it's been several years now, when you look back at your time at OU, your career there in Norman, like, how do you feel about it?
It was, first of all, an absolute dream of mine. I mean, that's the best way that I could put it. For an opportunity to go from San Antonio kid, where there's not many guys that come out of San Antonio and get to go play at a school like Oklahoma, to be able to go through the recruiting process when nobody in my family had, really nobody around me had. It was like jumping into a fire at the beginning. But I was so thankful that, I'd been raised to go and compete, right? And so going and redshirting and then having an opportunity to play early and then get to put on that, that helmet every single week, to play in that stadium every single week. Man, I didn't take it for granted for a single second. Now, the way that my career there ended up, you could look back on and say there was a lot of disappointment, but all of us could, right? I mean, I always tell people my dream was to go and play at OU and win 4 national championships and win 4 Heisman trophies, but that's just not reality, right? And one of the reasons I love sports, and specifically football, is because there's so many parallels to life. And I think my story shows that. A lot of ups, a lot of downs, a lot of in between. I'm so thankful now that I can still call Oklahoma home. I got a degree from one of the greatest places on earth. And sure, there's some things I look back on that, I wish I could have changed here or there. But again, I think we all could have. Mine just might be highlighted a little bit because of the situation.
Well, I know this. You had an unbelievable game. It may be the most fun atmosphere I've ever been a part of. Like, that Alabama game was just insane. The fans, the sidelines, like, I'll never forget watching Adrian Peterson run up and down the sideline. Take us inside the bowl prep for that game. You guys came out on fire. You had some really good stuff. You were running around making throws on the run. What was that preparation like? Because obviously, Alabama, that was the year that Coach Stoops had some sparring with the SEC people, and lo and behold, you end up in a bowl game against Alabama. So what was that whole process like?
Yeah, I was a young guy. I had guys like Gabe and others that were really running the show. And Blake Bell and I were kind of up and down that year, who was playing, who wasn't. And I'll never forget going into bowl practices that year. I was coming off a shoulder injury in Bedlam, where Blake went in and threw the game-winning touchdown pass. And so I really didn't expect to be named the starter for that game. But kind of as fate would have it, we start bowl prep and we run in there, and the rest is history. But I do remember specifically, there's probably 6 or 7 games, which is not that many. I wish it was more in college, where I just remember really believing in the game plan for that week or that bowl game, whatever it was. And that was one of those. We were practicing at the Saints facilities, and just some of the things that we were doing were a little bit different in terms of game plan that we had done, previously that year, or even the year before that when I was there. And I just remember feeling from the top down, from Coach Stoops to Hype, to all the guys up front, to our whole offense, just kind of this confidence. We knew we were the underdog, obviously, but the confidence in the game plan was a little bit different. And I tip my hat to our leaders of that team, the older guys, because there was never a moment where it was, hey, we're going to have to give it our all, this type of thing. And we knew that was the mindset. We knew we were going to have to play a dang near perfect game, but the confidence was always there. And then, maybe one of 3 or 4 times where, you feel confidence in the game plan, but then you go out, and I think we ran all of our top 10 plays. You have your first 10 plays that the offensive coordinator will kind of jot down. And if the game goes perfectly, you run those plays almost in order. And I'm pretty sure we almost got through all 10 of those if we didn't. And so some of those things were just hitting, and we got ahead early. But you look at the whole game, and yes, offense played well. Our defense also had maybe their best game of the year. Special teams, we had some incredible things happen. It was just a really neat night all the way around, and obviously a huge win for the program.
How often do OU fans come up to you and say something about that game? Because it still happens to me. I can only imagine how many people come up to you and say something about it, because a lot of OU fans, I've had a lot of fans tell me that's like their favorite game of their entire lives.
Yeah, that is. I mean, that is obviously the one game of my career that people will spit out of their mouth the most, because it was so memorable. I mean, just everything about it. I got to play in 5 bowl games as a college football player, and that was easily the best week. I mean, take the game out of it. New Orleans was an awesome place to go and have events, and you're there right on, Bourbon Street, and great food and everything else. I know that outside of the game, all the fans were having a good time as well. And then to put that on top of it, I mean, how do you not remember that? If you were there, Teddy, you said it. You felt the electricity. You got Adrian Peterson running up and down the sidelines. And then to get a, kind of a historic win for the program. I mean, all encompassing. It was just a really cool night. At first, when I first got done playing, I was I guess a little pissed, because it seemed like people didn't remember the rest of my career, right? There were some games where maybe I didn't play all that great, but there was also, I felt like, some games I thought I played pretty good too. And I get it. I laugh about it now. I'm like, everybody that comes within, a few feet of me becomes a Heisman Trophy winner. I switch with Kyler. He comes and wins the Heisman. I obviously made Baker win the Heisman. I'm just come around me, you're going to be a better player, I guess.
Well, hey, embrace it, because the amount of people that have thrown for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns against Nick Saban's Alabama team, you can count probably on like one finger. So especially in a big time bowl game. But you mentioned the Baker Mayfield. What was that transition like? And what was it like? Because he was there on his year where he had to sit out, and then you guys go into a spring, kind of battle it out. What was that whole process like? What was it like, competing against him, and then learning, back and forth as you guys progressed to that next season?
Yeah, my career was always competition. Going in as a young guy and compete with Blake. But I think Blake kind of really set the tone for me in terms of, hey, man, yeah, we're competing against each other, but we're going to make each other better, and we're going to have a fun time doing it. And so I always appreciate him of kind of setting that tone for me, and it paid off as my career went on. Because we went, like I said, we went back and forth that year, but we had such a fun time together. So then Bake transfers in, and we knew, I mean, we were big fans of him, right? True freshman walk-on, what a story at Texas Tech. And then, to play well after that, I think he was a, newcomer of the year or freshman of the year in the Big 12. And then he comes on campus and I'll tell him this to his face, a little fat guy, and plays intramural ball for a semester. But he immediately had a way of getting guys around him to rally to him, right? Whether it was in spring ball, scout team, or just in the locker room, he danced around and all sorts of crazy stuff. But he had true leadership qualities. I feel like I had some leadership qualities, and I feel like I hope a lot of my teammates would say I was a pretty good leader. But he had a way of not just being a good leader, but really having guys gravitate towards him. And so going through that process, much like me and Blake, we got really close. I still consider Baker a really good friend. And was it tough for me? 100%. I mean, you guys know, as a competitor, to have a job and to want to go out there and do the best for your team on Saturdays, and then to kind of get that stripped or taken away from you, of course it was a gut punch for me. But I'm still so thankful for that time with Bake because I learned a lot through that. Again, kind of taking it back to the whole life thing. You learn a lot about life when you go through adversity and hardship. And, I love using Baker as an example now because there's not many guys that when they step on the field and over that white line that believe in themselves as much as he does. And there's not many guys that can just simply by being him, make the guys around them so much better, players, people, everything than a guy like Bake. So it was tough from a personal standpoint, but it was really neat to, obviously watch in my opinion, one of the best college quarterbacks ever play kind of do his thing at my expense, really.
Yeah, that's a really interesting and I think refreshing perspective, Trev. So you make the decision to transfer. And I know how much you loved it at OU. How difficult was that decision? And ultimately, what led to you picking A&M?
Yeah, that's a great question. And another unbelievable and unbelievably hard thing that I had to go through. Loved OU, still do. I mean, absolutely consider it home. When I stepped on campus there and even as it got further into my career there, I never in a million years would have guessed that I would leave that place, right? Nobody would. But I remember when Bate got the job, Lincoln told me, he's like, hey, be ready. We believe in you. If something happens, be ready, right? Well, Bate goes on and ends up, third, fourth in the Heisman that year, whatever it was. He took it and ran with it, as you should at that level, right? So I remember just sitting back and watching Bate do his thing. And there was a period of time where I thought, man, this was fun college career. My brother's here. My buddies are here. I love this place. I'm going to hang it up. I'll be a good backup for the next 2 years. And that's it. But then that competitive side, it just started eating me up inside. And I just felt, man, I truly felt in my heart at the time, I could play it anywhere in this country except for where I'm at right now. That's what I felt. Right. And I had played a lot of ball up until that point. And so I was so thankful for Bob and Lincoln taking the time to sit down with me and say, hey, listen, we really want you here. We think you're a valuable part of this team, whether you're on the field or not, but we understand. And if there's something that you're running to, that's what Lincoln told me. And I still use this to this day. He said, I got a lot of job offers when I was at East Carolina, but I wasn't running to any of them. When Bob called to go to OU, I was running towards it. And he said, I want that to be the same type of decision for you. And so there wasn't the portal or anything at this time. So I went, up to compliance and wrote down a list of teams that I thought, may have a need or I just had an interest in. And I send that out and I start kind of, it gets out in the media and those types of things. And long story short, I give Kevin Sumlin a call because I'm like, hey, kind of want to get out of the Big 12. Would be awkward to play against OU and just don't want to do that. But, closest school to home that's not in the Big 12 that I think is maybe not a lateral move, but lateral conference, if you will. And that's A&M. So I call him. He's like, hey, man, thanks for the call. But, we've got Kyler Murray and Kyle Allen, and they're battling it out. But basically, thanks for the call. And fast forward about a week later, Kyle Allen decides he's out. Kyler says he's leaving, and my phone rings, and it's Summy. He's like, "Hey, man, let's have a different conversation
about that whole thing."
Yeah, exactly. So was having great conversations with a lot of coaches, but in the end decided that was the best opportunity for me to simply go play football again, and got to do that, and that's how that shaped out.
All right, let's take a quick break. Do you own a business? If you do, you need Insurica in your life. Insurica is one of the country's largest insurance brokers with 30 offices throughout Oklahoma, Texas, and the Southwest. Insurica is able to customize programs by accessing the latest information from many insurance carriers. They compare and contrast coverage offerings and pricing in order to design a cost-effective, comprehensive program to meet your business's specific needs. Insurica's clients become best-in-class businesses by working with Insurica's team of advisors to manage risk. Purchasing insurance is only one way to protect your business. Best-in-class businesses win by avoiding a loss in the first place. If your business partners with Insurica, you'll save huge amounts of money and take back control of your total cost of risk. I'm an Insurica client, and you should be too. If your business wants to be best in class, connect with Insurica at insurica.com. That's INSURICA.com. And guys, summer is here, and you know what that means. It is hard seltzer season, baby. And there's only one hard seltzer that we drink on this podcast, and that is Will and Wiley Hard Seltzer from Coupe Ale Works. It's perfect for any occasion. We drink it by the pool, at the lake, and at the tailgate. It is made in Oklahoma, and it is absolutely delicious. Will and Wiley is customized for the Oklahoma lifestyle. Go find it right now in a store near you, and go follow them on social media at Will and Wiley. All right, back to the interview.
I want the juicy stuff. Give me the rest of that list. You said you wrote down a list, and you had some schools that you were interested in. Did you have any other conversations with any other head coaches anywhere? How did that whole process go? How did you get in touch with those guys? And what was it kind of like to be, I mean, essentially a free agent? Whenever it's out there that you're wanting to transfer, it's kind of the only thing you can really compare it to.
Right. Yeah. I put the list of, out there, and compliance sent that to those schools. And then it gets in social media and everything else. So my phone started ringing, primarily from, GAs and things like that, but a couple head coaches too. And the process.
Oh, if the GA's calling, they're off the list, man.
They're off the list.
They're off the list.
Come on. Yeah. I feel like I'm a little bit, bigger than that at this point. Not really, but I was surprised at who was getting back to me with serious interest. And this was, you guys got to remember, this was like 2 weeks period. This was after our bowl game. We had played Clemson in the Orange Bowl, and I'm set to enroll in January. So like, this is happening very quickly, right? But I got a call back from Mark Richt at Georgia, and I was like, sweet. So now this may be something I'm running to. And then I got a call from Gus Malzahn at Auburn and Les Miles at LSU. And I think those were probably the main three that I was really excited about that first week. And I told all three of these coaches, I said, hey, listen, I'm not a young guy. I'm not coming out of high school. I don't need to know what type of facilities that you have. I don't need to know what type of jerseys that you're putting on. I don't care about any of that stuff. I'm an older guy, play a lot of ball. Just give me the facts. What is my opportunity here? Do I have an opportunity to come in and compete? And what does this look like for the strength of the football team? Are you guys going to compete next year? I mean, just give me the real meat to this whole deal. And they did. I ended up not hearing back from Mark Richt, and I was kind of upset about that because I'd heard great things about Athens, and it turns out he's getting the head job down in Miami. So then it was really LSU, and Les Miles and I were on the phone every single night, and Auburn, and he had Cam Newton call me and try to get me there because Cam, was a transfer, and I was going to be a transfer, and Cam wins the Heisman, so I was going to win the Heisman, right? And so that was cool conversation. And then the whole deal with Kyle and Kyler came around, and I had to make a serious decision. It wasn't like, oh, if A&M calls, I'm going there. It was, hey, what's the best for me? But I had to make that decision in 1 or 2 days.
I am one of those guys where I do think about the alternate universe where if I would have made a different choice than I made, Do you ever think about like what would happen if you would have gone and played at LSU instead of going to A&M?
No doubt.
God,
No doubt. Yeah.
damn, man.
I mean, you look back, even my decision just to leave OU, I couldn't imagine my life now if I hadn't have done that, right? I mean, that was just that was such a cool year for me, getting to go play more ball, and it set me up to at least go have a couple cups of coffee in the NFL, and a dream of mine and those types of things. Yeah, my life would have looked completely different. And so you look at that, and you look at really anything in your life, these small decisions can completely impact it, right? I mean, if I was a Tiger, I'd be, probably sitting next to Ed O right now, and my voice would be out or something crazy like that, right?
Eating chicken on a stick.
No doubt, no doubt. But so many things that would take up way too much time on this podcast that I could say, man, it was just perfect for me to go to A&M, and it worked out for me. And it's fun now because I'll throw out some hot takes every once in a while about I don't really believe in the transfer portal. I really don't. And everybody's like, what are you talking about, dude? You transferred. And I got to sit there and kind of explain my reasoning of why it was beneficial for me, a guy that went to a school, gave it everything that they had, graduated, played a lot of ball, and just wanted to go compete again. And I know there's other guys out there that absolutely should be rewarded that, but there's also some guys out there that are taking advantage of this portal, and I think it's bad. But that's for another time.
So you show up on campus, College Station, Summy's down there. What's it like, getting to know a whole new group of guys that have kind of, I mean, it's a little bit in the NFL. There's a ton of turnover every year, right? And then you bring in a whole bunch of rookies, and they clip some guys off. So you get kind of used to it in the NFL. In college, it's a little bit different. You're going into an environment where it's for them, especially you're going in January. They just finished a season. And there's some early arrivals, but not a whole lot. So you're trying to get yourself in with a tight knit group of guys. How hard was that to break through? What was it like going into spring ball with those guys? Just that whole acclimation period.
Yeah, that was tough. I mean, I look back on that too, and I think, man, for the guys that are leaving schools that are in a good position, they just feel like they want to go somewhere else, would not recommend it, because I came in as a guy that, a lot of the guys on the team knew who I was just because I had played. They know college football, but they didn't hang out in the dorms with me, right? They didn't go through the grind of summer workouts with me. All those things that bring you close as a senior group, if you will, a leadership group, we didn't have. So I had a very short and finite period of time that I had to earn the respect of my new teammates. Let them know that I was for real. Let them know that I wanted to be a leader on this team. And then once they did accept me, start actually leading. Gabe knows this. I was always a kind of a rah-rah guy and a weight room guy. And I think,
dude, Ted, he comes from the clan of workout warriors that you're from, brother. Like so you talk about going and earning respect quickly. I can tell you that it didn't take very many workouts for those guys to go, oh shit, look at this dude. Like, okay, like he's got it.
That's the best way to do it.
Freshman year, I thought I was, this big shot, and I was out walking in front, not hanging my head. We were running 3 trippers on the turf field outside. It's like 115 degrees. And I think Brendan Clay almost came up to me and just punched me square in the back of the head. Luckily, I had some of my freshman dudes out there, Sterling Shepard and Duran. They kind of had my back. But anyways, that was kind of my way of getting in with this team. I said, I'm not going to come in here and I'm not going to use my mouth to try and lead at first. I'm just going to lead by example, and I'm going to work really hard in these winter workouts. And then I'm slowly going to kind of find the true leadership of this team and just let them know that I'm for real and I got their back and those types of things. And so to answer your question, it was hard. It was really hard, but I am thankful for all those guys for embracing me as one of their own and allowing me to end up being a captain and a leader on that team and have a really fun year.
Kind of wrapping up your playing career, Trev, obviously the pro career, it didn't go the way you wanted it to go, right? Did you ever, with your athleticism, your size, did you ever think about switching positions? because that was something that I know that people had talked about with you because of your speed, because of your strength. Do you ever think about what would have happened if you would have been willing to try something else other than quarterback?
I think the answer is no. I didn't ever think that I didn't ever pursue it. Did I think about it because people brought it up? Probably, but I never gave it serious thought. And here's why. I had enough ability at the quarterback position to where I was getting a shot to live out my dream. Sure. Did I get drafted? No, that was a bummer. I really thought I may be a late sixth or maybe seventh round guy, and it just didn't happen. Right. And then, getting signed to the Cardinals, I thought it was a great opportunity for me because you had Carson Palmer, which ended up being his last year that year, and Drew Stanton, another, 10, 11, 12-year guy that was kind of on the back end of his career. And I signed with them, and then they immediately signed Blaine Gabbert. So I got 3 former top 10 picks in front of me with minimum 6-7 years of experience. It was just an uphill climb for me at that program. And so I ended up getting cut on the last day, get signed by the Falcons. And quite frankly, I thought I was doing great. Another great situation, you got Matt Ryan, who's obviously still playing at a super high level, and then Matt Schaub, who has already hung up the cleats. And as fate would have it, Gabe, the reason, this isn't the reason that my career ended. I look back now and I realized that there's some tools specifically at the quarterback position that I didn't have. I was an athlete that was playing quarterback, and I wish throughout my development that I would have taken more time to truly just be a quarterback, right? But kind of the beginning of the end of my career was we, in the NFL, you've got a 10-man practice squad. Everybody else is on the roster. So sometimes when the offense is going, you've got defensive starters on the quote unquote scout team or look team and vice versa. So we had a couple, at least second team guys running routes just to give the defense a look at practice. So I told coach on the weeks that we were playing teams like the Patriots, where Matt Schaub would get most of the reps because he's more of a pro style guy, or other teams like that. I said, Coach, give me some gloves. I'll go run a backside 9 route and give these guys a breather. And so I was running a comeback route on the backside. I ended up catching a couple touchdown passes, by the way. But I was running a comeback on the backside of a card, and I stuck my foot in the ground. My back kind of popped on me. I tried to play through it or whatever for a few days, and fast forward about a week and a half later, can't get out of bed. Ended up rupturing a disc in my lower back. Had surgery. 9 months recovery, had a few workouts after that. And so that was the beginning of the end. So I never really had the chance to pursue that, even if it was something down the line, because up until that point, I was still getting enough confidence and enough looks at quarterback to where I just didn't want to go through that.
Well, it comes at you fast too, doesn't it? It's like you don't imagine, you're not going to play football forever. But then whenever you're not playing football, it's like, how did I get here and what am I going to do now? So right whenever you kind of felt like you're going to have to start pursuing some other things, like what did you start thinking about?
Yeah, so it was unique. I was sitting on the couch, my dad's couch back in San Antonio for literally 6, 7, 8 months, doing rehab a couple times a week with the Spurs guys down in San Antonio. And I thought, man, this is unique. I don't know if I'll ever get to play the ball again. I don't know if my back will let me, number one, but number two, I don't know if I'll get picked up. And so what am I going to do next? Right. I didn't know. So I just made a list of everybody I knew. I picked up the phone and started talking to people about different industries and, what do you do? What would you do the same? What would you do differently? Which was really cool now because I kind of built a Rolodex, if you will, of a lot of influential people that, taught me a lot of life lessons in just some of those conversations. But ended up getting healed, getting cleared, went and worked out, I think, at 13 different teams in 13 different cities. And you guys know, it's the one-day workouts. They fly you in the morning. You do the physical. I went out and threw, maybe 10 balls. A lot of times it was just because they were looking at a receiver there, but they still fly me all the way across the country, right? And there's a couple of them I thought, maybe I got a shot, threw well, and it just didn't happen, right? So I got to see a lot of cities, which was fun. And then I ended up playing in the AAF, the Alliance of American Football, for Rick Neuheisel. and really cool experience. But once that was done, got some calls to try and go do the XFL and things like that. But my course my career had run its course at that point. And so I was dating a girl at the time, and it was her birthday when that league finished up. They literally walked in the team meeting room on a Tuesday and said, "Hey, league's over. Grab your bags and you got to be out in 2 days." So I drove straight to Dallas and got to spend birthday with her. And we started dating a little bit more. That's my wife now. And so I moved to Dallas and got a job up here. And the rest is history. And now, looking back on football, I love talking about it still. I do some lessons from time to time. I love going up to games. I wish I was more involved. I knew coaching wasn't for me at the college level for a number of reasons, but I do miss being around the game. And, the real world's the real world, as you guys know. And it's tough some Saturdays to know that you don't get to wake up and go to team stretch and then run out of a tunnel and get to go to battle with your boys.
All right, guys, let's take a quick break. Are you looking to buy or sell a house in the OKC metro area? I just used the Ronaldo Cloud Group to sell my old house, and it was so easy and so stress-free. Station Ronaldo and Maddie Clowder with Sage Sotheby's International Realty. They believe in prompt communication, an honest relationship, and the luxury service, and that's exactly what they gave me. You can reach them by emailing Stacia at sagesir.com. That's STACIA at SAGESIR.com. Or you can contact them on Instagram at soldbystacia and at soldbymaddie_. You will not regret it. And you also won't regret sending your kids to Bishop McGuinness Catholic High School. Bishop McGuinness Catholic High School has a long tradition of educational excellence. With a 12-to-1 student-to-teacher ratio, no student is overlooked. Bishop McGuinness's college prep curriculum offers 22 AP courses. There are numerous clubs and organizations for students to join. And as a proud member of the OSSAA, there are 14 sports offered. If you want to provide the best possible educational and spiritual development for your children, contact Bishop McGuinness Catholic High School or visit bmchs.org. Financial aid is available. All right, back to the interview. Trev, it's a great reminder that you have to have a lot of luck. And I'm not sure people realize how much luck you have to have a successful NFL career. And, it doesn't work out the way you want it to all the times. And I know that, from experience as well. Teddy knows that from experience as well. Injuries was kind of Teddy's thing. Injury, your thing. I wasn't very good. So everyone's got their thing. But I don't know how I want to transition to this, but have you heard that OU's going to the SEC?
A time or two. Let's put it that way.
Okay, man. Give me you played at OU, you played at A&M. Just give me your initial reaction when the news starts coming out and it's building steam and people OU and Texas are issuing non-denial denials and we're like, okay, this is gonna happen.
Oh, well, one of my favorite things ever is you hop on Twitter, and you guys know this better than anybody. You say something or you tweet something or something comes out like that news, and people lose their minds. I mean, you see people saying everything from this side to this side and everywhere in between, some of the most irrational things you've ever heard in your life, which was unbelievably hilarious to watch, right? I was unbelievably calm. I was like, man, this is really cool for me. I sit, and I was telling you this last time we talked, Gabe. I sit in such a unique seat, right? I got an opportunity now to where I don't have to pick which weekends I go down to College Station or which weekends I go up to Norman. I'll just go to one each year if they're in the same pod or whatever it ends up being. And I'm just going to sit back and grab a cold beer and enjoy the heck out of it, man. But I think that, in terms of the whole college football landscape, it was coming at some point, right? They've always been talking about these super conferences. Who was going to take the first step? Is it bold? I think that it's OU and Texas. Absolutely. But it was going to happen. And then you sit and listen to almost every coach at, SEC Media Day or Big 12 Media Day or really any media day across the country. And they're all almost in 100% agreement about, the 12-team playoff. And so you knew something was going to happen. I think that just the fact that it's in our world with our allegiances, it hits home a little bit better. But I'm a huge fan. I think, getting to watch a Texas against an Auburn on any given week, or an OU against a Bama, I mean, that's what people want in college football. So I think it's going to be pretty neat.
You sit in an interesting position. You played quarterback in obviously the Big 12 and the SEC, but you also played quarterback for two teams that despise the hell out of Texas. What side does the hate run deeper? And maybe it's a different kind of hate between like OU fans and A&M fans, but it's an interesting perspective to have seen it from both sides like you have.
But yeah, there's no doubt. And this is the way I put it. And again, this is just my opinion and kind of where I sit. But when I look at OU and specifically the football program, it'd be very hard pressed to find a program in the country that has more pride for your football program, right? I mean, day in and day out, Teddy, you know this. You lose a game on Saturday, Christmas is ruined. You win a game on Saturday, somebody's dog is getting named Teddy, right? I mean, that's just the way it is. A&M I think it's much more campus rooted, right? I mean, there's a lot of, it's the campus pride. It's the cult. It's the, we'll stand the entire game. Let's be honest. I mean, the history of A&M football, 7-8 win seasons, right? Of course, they've had great seasons, but the history of the actual football program isn't quite on the pedestal of an OU. And that's just the facts over the years. And so I think from a campus-wide standpoint, you just have this, hey, I grew up an Aggie, so I was raised to hate Texas, and I don't care if it's football, baseball, basketball, whatever, I just hate them. At OU, it is much more personal on game day, game day, it's like OU Texas, one of the best environments ever, at least in the football spectrum. And there is on that day in October, the most hate I've ever seen. So just a little bit different, but obviously throw the horns down whenever you can, right?
Oh, absolutely. Till the day I die, Trev. But okay, so you may have noticed in your Twitter mentions, sometimes when we have guests, we ask our listeners, for questions for them. And this one comes from Sean Crowell. And he says, what is the biggest difference you saw playing in the Big 12 and the SEC? What stands out to you?
And I'll just take this. I know I've been asked this a million times, and every time I answer it, it's probably something a little bit different. But the first thing that comes to mind right now is, number one, the venues, right? I think when you go play in the SEC and you go to Bryant-Denny, or you go to Jordan-Hare in Auburn, or even go out to Mississippi State, right? You've just got a bigger stature of stadium. And that's the SEC. They build bigger stadiums, and that's the way it is. You don't go up to, and I always use this as an example, you don't go to Lawrence and end up, after halftime, because it's 55-10, you're playing in front of a high school crowd. It just, that doesn't happen. Now, the other thing is, I think week in and week out in the SEC, and I can confidently say this, it is a little bit more of a physical grind. And the reason I say that is because it's just a little bit more hard-nosed in terms of the style of football, the stature of the people. That being said, flip that card and go play in the Big 12, and you better be ready to score a lot of points, right? I mean, you've got Lincoln Riley just laying it out there on the table and making things happen that these SEC defenses have never seen in their entire life. They're like, hey, we're gonna get base defense, and we're just gonna beat you because we're better than you. Well, you go play in the Big 12, and there's a lot more trickery. There's a lot more scheme to it. There's a lot more, preparation that goes into playing against some of these defenses and offenses, right? And so different brand of football, can't honestly say one better than the other. There's just differences. Everybody asks, well, OU is not going to be able to go compete, week in and week out from a size standpoint in the SEC. Completely disagree. And I put, for a guy that came in and basically demoted me, I put Lincoln Riley very close to the top, if not the top of my list of greatest coaches that I've ever been around. And he's a guy that, he understands what's going on. He'll recruit guys that can play week in and week out in the SEC, and they're going to go and they're going to be very successful like they have and like OU has, been forever. Texas, I'm a little more worried about, but that's more for personal reasons. And so we'll see how they do. But, it's going to end up all being one. It's going to be one new brand of football, and it'll be perfect for all of us, in my opinion.
I want to hit a follow-up there, Gabe, before you're going to go to maybe another one of the fans' questions. When Lincoln showed up, what were your initial thoughts? Could you tell like right away, like, wow, he's going to have something really cool offensively? Did it take a little getting used to? Was it like really different from what you had with Heupel? Just what was that transition like?
Yeah, one of my favorite stories to tell. And one of the reasons that I respect him so much, we're sitting there and we're awaiting his arrival, right? And so we're getting all juiced up. Hey, we got to learn a new offense. We got to prove ourselves, all these types of things. And I remember he gets to the first meeting room and he could sense that we were like, all right, we want the offense. We want all this. And we may have even said it out loud, like, hey, coach, when are we gonna get the offense? And he said, hey, we're not doing that yet. That's not what we're gonna focus on. We're gonna focus on our mindset first. Our mindset is when we get over that white line, every single time we touch the ball, we're gonna go put in the end zone, and that's what we're gonna develop first. You guys will learn this offense. It's simple. It's 1-2 words. It's the old air raid offense. Signal it in from one guy and we rock and roll. I'm not worried about that, but I am worried about our mindset. And that's what I want to take care of first. And from day one, he has absolutely lived up to that. I remember standing on the sidelines of the Iowa State game in 2015. First play of the game, we run this crazy trickery play, double reverse, back to Baker. Dimitri Flowers goes out kind of down the right sideline. He hits him for a 75-yard touchdown pass. And normally, you see all the players going celebrating with Dimitri. Sterling Shepard, Deron Neal, all our defensive guys are dogpiling hype, seems like. And I remember stepping back and going, all right, that dude just won over this team for a long time. He has a way about getting the most out of his players, which I think is one of his greatest qualities and what makes him so successful as a young coach in this profession.
I'm going to have to edit you saying Lincoln instead of hype right there because your subconscious got the best of you.
Oh, dang it.
It's okay. It's fine. We knew what you meant. It happens.
Well, your voice sounds like mine, so you can just voice it over, right?
Yeah. I'll just go Lincoln. Or do you want me to say Link? I'm not editing, by this way. That is one of this show's rules. There is no editing. We refuse. But that's interesting. And Trevor, I know you still watch all the games. And just there's such high expectations for OU going into this season. And I know that, a lot of attention has been taken off the team from the SEC stuff. But what do you think of Rattler as a quarterback? Because I know I watch offensive linemen with a very critical eye, especially the center position. I only assume you watch the quarterback position the same way. What did you think about what you saw from Spencer Rattler last season?
I mean, talk about incredible talent. I think everybody can see that there's no mistake in that. The dude has unbelievable arm talent. He's got a moxie about him, a confidence about him that is edgy. And you see the way that football and specifically the quarterback position is going. And it used to be, hey, are you 6'5"? Can you hand the ball off? Can you dissect the defense? Can you dink and dunk down the field? And can you make all the throws, right? That used to be the quarterback position. Simply a distributor of the football. Nowadays, your quarterback is called on to be a playmaker, right? A lot of guys that may be with their feet, and other guys still by their arm and distributing the football are called on to be absolute freaks in nature. He is one of those guys. Some of the throws that he makes, it's those, no, don't do that. And then it's a touchdown, right? I love watching him play. He's one of those guys that your eye gets drawn to. I recall watching Johnny Football, and it's the same type of deal. You want to turn on the TV and watch the guy. Pat Mahomes is the same way now playing in the NFL. He's going to do something nuts with his arm, not going to probably do it with his feet, but he's going to make an incredible throw and people are going to go crazy about it. I'm a believer in Spencer Rattler. At first I didn't know. I knew he was super talented. But the way that he kind of grew up last year, and you watched him, even at times of struggle, which was very, very minimal. The way that he responded to that, I thought showed a lot of poise. I thought it showed a lot of maturity. And him going into this year after, getting the Big 12 championship under his belt, I think he's going to blow the roof off this thing.
Now, obviously, guys can handle celebrity while playing football. We see it all the time. We've seen it for a long time. Guys in the NFL have all kinds of endorsement deals, but what would it be like to be on campus in a locker room with a bunch of guys whenever you're really the only one that's making a substantial amount of money? In the NFL, everyone's making something at least, right? There's a big difference between quarterbacks and the other guys, but there's a big difference between whenever everybody makes something and then when one guy makes a lot and no one else is really making anything at all. What do you think that dynamic's going to be like? And do you worry about the mindset for any of these quarterbacks, maybe, getting a bunch of endorsement deals before they've really, I don't want to say they haven't earned it, but that stuff usually comes from winning big time football games and winning awards and kind of elevating yourself to one of the best in the country. And we see guys getting it just because they're at a certain university.
No doubt. Yeah. I need to just dissect this whole NIL thing a little bit more because at first glance, I'm just not a fan of it. And I got absolutely destroyed on social media. Like, oh yeah, it's easy for you to say, you were fifth best quarterback in the state and these guys are the number one guys and all this stuff. And, oh yeah, you're just saying that because, you missed out on it or whatever the argument was. But I think you're right. I think it's going to create kind of this division in the locker room. It happens at the NFL level. You don't see it because that's a vocation. That's their job day in and day out. But let's be honest, the top 10 guys on a team that are making millions and millions of dollars, they drive very different cars than your 7th round pick. They go eat at very different restaurants. They go on very different vacations. Their mindset's very different because if they get hurt, they're going on IR and they're coming right back. If you get hurt, well, you're probably going to find yourself a new home or you're going to hang the cleats up for good. And so I think there is a division even at the pro level. So now you bring that into the college level and it's going to be crazy. These pro guys, they have marketing teams that are going out and seeking out these opportunities for them. At the college level, I've already seen it. I got one of my best buddies from high school. His little brother plays at Texas off the offensive line. He's sitting there to all his favorite brands on Twitter and Instagram all day. Hey, Chipotle, can you give me some free bowls? Hey, Traeger, can you send me a Traeger? It's like, number one, it's taking time away from their development as a player and getting to that ultimate goal where they are winning big games and being a big time player to actually get meaningful endorsements. But on the other side of it, I think they are going to end up ruining their marketability as well, because something that I didn't realize coming out, I had a marketing team and I think there was a company that wanted to pay me like $500 to post on Instagram or whatever it was. This is when I was coming out of A&M and I'm looking at it. I'm a college graduate, don't have much money in the bank. And I'm like, dude, $500, let's do it. They said, no, we're going to turn that one down. I said, well, why? I said, well, because this other company over here wants to pay you $1,000. And if you accept the 500, that now is your floor for your marketability. Right. And that's when I finally started to realize, like, people get paid to be marketing folks, right? Like marketing teams do this for a living because they understand the business side of it. These kids are going to get a free burger and post 20 times on their social media, and it's going to ruin their marketability when they do come out and go to the NFL and have the ability to actually make great money. And I'll go on the record saying this too. There ain't nobody in the country that's made 7 figures yet. Nick Saban's a lot smarter than a lot of us think. He said that, and I think that was a recruiting pitch to the max. That kid hadn't posted a single thing on social media at the time, and that's a big way to generate revenue. Unless it was the old envelope with $1 million in it, no way anybody's made 7 figures. But that's my take on it.
I think we all can acknowledge this, though. you would have made a shit ton of money after that Sugar Bowl. I mean, it would have been sweet.
You look back on it and you're like, geez, that would have been nice to, get a couple bucks in my pocket. I could have gone to Diamond Dogs or Logies. And,
dude, did you hear?
Big man on campus.
RIP to Diamond Dogs, man.
I know. What a dagger to the chest.
It's rough. That's rough. Okay. Well, one more fan question for you, Trev. This one comes from @Asbel_Tony. So I'm guessing his name's Tony Asbel. Don't know that for a fact, but just guessing, boys. He says, please elaborate on any contact with Katy Perry following the best game day guest host appearance of all time.
Oh man. Yeah, that's
you're happily married now.
Happily married.
But at the time, that was not, it was awesome. But did anything, I suppose you say, did anything ever come of that? Was there contact ever made?
So I'll tell the story first and end up answering the question at the end. And Gabe, you know it all too well, but we were playing pretty good that year up to that point. And I think we're number 4 in the country. We traveled to TCU, who was a little unproven at the time, but they ended up having a great year that year. I think went to the Peach Bowl and won that game. But anyways, we go down to Fort Worth. And I remember sitting at pregame meal, and Michael Honeycutt, our kicker, said, "Hey, you guys see Katy Perry's going to be on College Game Day?" You don't really think of it at that point, right? I had no idea what was about to happen. So I roomed with Blake Bell. So we're back in the room, just relaxing for a little while before we get on the bus to go over to the stadium. And the whole deal unravels, and she says that, and Gabe, you know Blake really well, and his reactions are like over amplified, and he does the whole like looks at me, looks back at the screen, and his big 6'6" behind is jumping on the bed, going nuts, like almost hitting his head on the ceiling. Did you hear what she just said? That was you, dude. That was you. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Well, I look at my phone, and I mean, it was like constant text, tweets, like the whole deal. And so luckily, and I can say this with the most confidence and the truth, I turned off my phone. I was like, dude, we got a big game to play. Turn off the phone. We'll deal with it after. That was pretty cool. We get on the bus, and we end up going and we lose the game, right? And I remember being on the bus afterwards, and I then opened my phone to all these texts. And I remember just kind of being heartbroken about the loss. And then, you get back to Norman, you're kind of sitting there going, man, I can't even play this thing up because we just lost. And that's just not acceptable, right? And so I was dating a girl at the time, and I was a good boyfriend. I'm not going to do anything on social media. Looking back now, I should have played that thing up to the max, man. Like, that would have been so funny. And I was playing the good card, and we lost, and it's the political thing to do. Screw that. I should have reached out to her. So the answer to the question is we never had contact. Would have been fun if we did, even if it was just for a picture or something like that. Do
you get asked more about that or the Alabama game?
Oh, Katy Perry for sure.
Yeah.
That I remember, because like my senior year was the year before, right? And I remember seeing that, and I was on IR at the time, and I was watching Game Day, and it happened, and I was just like, I was so jealous that I wasn't still like on that team. That was the time where I was like, oh my gosh, I wish I was in that locker room right now, because I could only assume it was just,
I'll tell you,
talk about trying to just rattle your focus for getting ready to play.
The first thing I thought of was, we better win this blanking game, because I know it's all going to come back to this, right?
And it still does. Oh, the curse of Katy Perry, blah, blah. I'll tell you what I did do that I completely regret now. I was still getting, like, throughout that week, I was still getting, like, obviously a ton of tweets and texts and everything like that. And a lot of people that didn't have my best interest at heart encouraged me to, after the fact, way too late, reach out to her on social media. And I put out a text, And to this day, I'm like, golly, you're such a douche for putting that out. It was horrible.
Hey, man,
But
shoot your shot.
you live and you learn, right?
Okay, so I did want to give you an opportunity to talk about the Quinn Ewers thing because, you know, we were going back and forth on Twitter about it, and you finally were like, all right, I'm just going to call you. And so this kid's the number one, for those that don't know, he's the number one recruit in the country, decided he is going to skip his senior year, the entire year, his senior year of football, including football season. So he's bailing on his boys to go to Ohio State. Rumored that he can make a ton of money in NIL deals, endorsements, one with a kombucha company that's giving him equity in the company. And I said that I thought it was the best decision for him from a football development standpoint, and the money is not irrelevant. And you disagreed. Why?
Yeah, Gabe, when we talked the other day, I thought, and I still think a lot of people have good thoughts on it. And I'll take a step back because I don't know if I was clear about this the other day or on my tweet. I absolutely am not bashing Quinn Ewers as a player. I believe in the guy. I think he's an amazing player, obviously, and I hope the best for him. I hope this works out for him. My idea behind sending out this tweet that I disagree was more of just the situation in general and what it could bring. And here are some of kind of my thoughts on it and some of the rebuttals that I've heard that I'd like to kind of talk to. But first and foremost, yes, you do miss out on your senior year. I'm not talking about the prom stuff. You can go back to that. Even guys that graduate early and go at the semester go back for prom and all that stuff. I do disagree with him missing his senior year of football. Number one, because that's, in my career, that's one of my favorite years of football ever, is my high school senior year. Number two, to rebuttal you, Gabe, I think that he will get more development, more confidence, and better at his craft playing football this season, as opposed to going up. And yes, he will have better coaching. Yes, he will be in a college program from a mental and physical standpoint, but he's going to stand on the sidelines. He's going to get maybe a few reps here and there while the starter's getting all the offensive reps. He may even run, the scout team. Who knows? So where is that huge leg up in development coming from going up there right now, as opposed to 6 months from now, where he has an opportunity to go out and win a state championship, throw a ton of touchdowns, and in my opinion, even boost his brand even more. Because if he's everything that he says he is, he could go out and do that. A lot of people are saying, well, he's graduating, he's doing everything that you ask him to do. Totally agree with that. I'm not downing him for being, ahead in classes or being one of the best of all time. And again, he may be the one example that this works out for. I just think him setting this example, and if this starts to happen with other guys, it's going to be the same phenomenon that you see these guys leaving their junior year of college and going and not making a team, and then they're sitting like the three of us here doing something else for the rest of their life. Those are my initial thoughts. Again, love to hear what you guys have to say and answer any questions on it.
Well, I think I think a lot of things that you say have a lot of merit. I also understand the other end of it, to where, gosh, you never know how long your football career is going to last. And if you got an opportunity to go make some money, you go make some money. But the old man in me is sitting here saying, whenever he's 65, 70 years old and he's looking back on his life, he's not going to give a damn about a kombucha endorsement. He's going to think about, should I have played that senior year and won that state championship with the guys I went to, junior high and high school with. That's, you can't really argue that it shouldn't happen because of that, but I can assure you there'll be a time in his life where he doesn't care about any of that money, and it's going to be the experiences that you think about. Quite frankly, if he's as good as a lot of people think he is, it ain't going to matter how much money he makes right now. He's going to make a ton in the NFL. But I hope and I think that this is just going to be one of only a handful of times that we see something like this happen. I know there's a lot of worry that it could become some type of big epidemic where we've got a bunch of great high school players that are not going to be playing their senior year, and maybe that does happen, but I think it's going to be super rare and most likely only for quarterbacks.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with you, and I think that's a really, really neat point about looking out into the future. To your point, if he's as good as he says he is, and he's going to go and start developing, and Gabe, you said even his ultimate goal is to be a number 1 overall pick or a first round draft pick or whatever. If he's that good anyway, the money's going to come. Now, I get it. Everybody says, why would you ever turn down $1 million or whatever? But I'm still sitting here going, what about the what ifs? What if it's, and not to throw anybody under the bus, but what if it's a Tate Martell situation? Super highly recruited guy, hadn't really seen much, may get an opportunity to go play slot in the NFL. I don't know. I doubt it. But there's just too many what ifs right now. To your point, Teddy, to look back, in his 60s when he's got hopefully little kids running around and hopefully he's a great member of society, to say, man, I kind of wish, I kind of regret that. And so that's the personal side of it. But, from a football side of it too, shoot, you're still going to get to go at spring ball and get meaningful reps. And as opposed to sitting in a meeting room and learning the offense, you're going to get those reps 6 months from now. And I kind of stand firm in my stance on it, but I see both sides. How do you turn down money when you're 18-year-old kid?
Yeah. I think all three of us agree that there's probably too many people telling this kid what he should do. Let's just let the kid live his life. I mean, he's not even a kid. He's 18. I mean, it's his decision to make. And
think about that though. That's what's crazy is, and this is going to be gone for the most part, but there's like a progression. You work your tail off in high school because, my God, what would it be like to have a Division I scholarship? You get the scholarship. You work your tail off because what would it be like to be a starter or to be all conference or to be an All-American, or what about a draft pick and go play in the NFL? So you're ironed down, you're focused, and that's where all your attention is. And then whenever you get to that moment, then it's like, okay, now you can start thinking about some money and stuff. So like kind of your point about people sitting there on social media all day, tweeting at different companies and worrying about endorsements and stuff. The money will come if you just go take care of the stuff on the field. So I don't know. It's a weird time to think about all of that stuff kind of flying around while you're trying to play college football.
And it's tough for us to sit here and talk about it too, because it's a new brand. It's a new time, and it's something that none of us had to go through. I mean, I'm the old school mindset of, I appreciated the fact that when I left high school and I had kind of this cockiness about me because I was the best player in high school, that I got there and Schmitty immediately brought me down to my senses, and I had to earn that respect back up. Talk about dividing a locker room. This kid's going to have more money supposedly than all the guys in his locker room, and he hadn't even gone through a workout yet. He hadn't even thrown a pass up there. He hadn't even proven himself on the field. I think it's going to cause a lot of problems, but we'll see. Hopefully he can handle it.
How about this? If the reports are true, he's going to have more money than a couple of the coaches.
Yeah. Talk about that. That's like a Kyler Murray situation. And hey, guys, we got to immediately up Lincoln's contracts. Kyler's making more. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Trev, you're the man. We appreciate all the time, dude. People are gonna love this. I'm just telling you. That was awesome, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I love it. Love listening to you guys. Love following the both of you, and look forward to seeing you guys Palace this fall, and hopefully we can give each other a hug and high five pending any COVID restriction.
Oh, please. All right, man. Thanks.
Yeah, you bet. See you guys.
Old Trevor Knight's got some stories now, bro. I mean, that was awesome getting to hear kind of the reasoning behind all the decisions he had to make.
Yeah. Well, the transfer list is interesting. Some SEC schools and the coaches that he was talking to, pretty fascinating stuff, really.
Did he get ghosted by Mark Richt? Is that,
well, it's interesting that he mentioned every coach that he talked to, they didn't last very long. Like Rick was out of town, Les Miles was out of town. I mean, all that turnover happened pretty quick. I think he made the right choice and went to a good spot and ended his career in a good note.
I think some OU fans are really going to enjoy that interview.
I agree.
That was awesome. And on that note, episode 137. If my math is correct, remember, we're doing this way in advance. I think it's 137, Ted. I hope that's right. I'm sorry if it's not, people. There's the one guy that's like listening very carefully every time to make sure I get the number right because he's going to call my ass out when I get it wrong.
You'll get the tweet. That's fine. We love that.
I think it's 137. We'll have a new podcast that'll drop Monday morning. Just a reminder, you can hear Teddy from 2 to 6 on Sports Talk 1400. You can hear me from 3 to 5 on Sirius XM. I can't even speak. Sirius XM Big 12 Radio, channel 375. Hope you all have a great. I mean, what? Great. That's not even a word. I'm losing it, man. He's lost it. He's off the rails. Hope you all have a great weekend. Until next time, we appreciate y'all for listening and do what you always do, Oklahoma. Take care of each other.